Hello and welcome to day 2 of Variety's TV Fest presented by Amazon Advertising. I'm Adam B. Very, senior entertainment writer, and today, for the first time, we have assembled the stars of Marvel Studios' first 3 series for Disney+.
And Tom Hiddleston.
Is he here?
Is Tom here? Did they kick Tom off?
Oh, already, we're off to the races here. From WandaVision, we have Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. From The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as you've already seen, we have Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan. And from Loki, we have Tom Hiddleston. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for all for being here. As we were all kind of signing in, you guys were already off to the races talking to each other, but I kind of want to get a sense of, before we dive into your shows and the Marvel experience, other than this virtual discussion today, how often have the 5 of you been in the same room together to interact with each other?
Oh, always. We lived together like the monkeys did. Yeah. We live together and we write songs and everything. It's been great.
Okay.
We're in a bubble the whole way through the pandemic.
I mean, I do feel like there's oftentimes when we are all on set together in a tent.
No, but it's been
right.
I guess it's been like 2 years.
Yeah.
2-3 years. Yeah, 3
The
years.
last time I saw you guys when we did the big Endgame scene.
Yeah, so like 3 years ago, 2018.
I wasn't in that scene.
Tom wasn't right.
No.
I saw Tom do a
That's
great
okay.
play
That's
on
fine.
Broadway though.
Yes.
Before the pandemic.
I think this is the first time, Adam, that the 5 of us have been in the specific 5 have been in the same.
Yeah.
Virtual or not. There's lots of wires that go, lots of connections that go in different directions, but this is an exclusive, I think, of this. Whether or not you choose to believe Paul and his monkeys.
I preferred that version. We were I had in my head, we were making banana bread together during the pandemic and growing kale like everybody else.
We're definitely not growing kale. Just stop it.
Speak
That
for
is the
yourself.
trash leaf.
Oh my
That is the trash leaf. No more kale talk.
I just picked blueberries this morning.
Of course you did.
So with each of your shows, all of you have been very important supporting characters in the Marvel films, but now you were all at the top of the call sheet, headlining your own shows. I'll start with Lizzie, and I'm going to call you Lizzie because you told me in a previous interview I could call you Lizzie. Lizzie, what was that experience like for you to go from being, having your specific scenes in your movies to being there every day, top of the call sheet, lead of the show?
I think the first thought of it was felt like intimidating because more specifically that we were moving these larger than life characters onto a television screen, and I think that idea freaked me out. And then that was the initial feeling, but once I spoke with Jack Schaefer, our showrunner and creator, showrunner. I feel like we did use those proper terms in our sets, but
No.
But head writer Jack really understood my character and her history, specifically with Paul, and her own experience in just like all of the Marvel movies. And I, in my brain, just because I was trying to grasp at anything, was creating these inner arcs in between movies just to hold on to something. And she pulled all those thoughts out of my brain and put them on the screen or on the page. And so it was a nice opportunity. Paul and I were actually very excited to lead our show and kind of set a tone of just like fun, respect, kindness, and discipline. And I think it made us all,
Punctuality.
Punctuality. We were a very, very punctual set. No one was ever late. That is true. But that is, I mean, that's what you get when you get a, you know, when you do get to lead in a way, you get to set the standard for everyone. And we had a really great time making our show, and there's a lot of collaboration, and it was chaos because you're going from a movie that's like a page and a half a day to 7 pages a day. It was really exhausting, but I know we had great leadership, and not talking about us, but we had other, you know, great leaders with Matt Shackman, our director, and Jack Schaefer. And so it was a great opportunity.
And you got to work with Kat Dennings.
Oh, yes, Mackie, I did.
Yeah.
Anthony, although I gather that everyone who knows you calls you Mackie, but I will call you Anthony. Anthony, when you were first pitched the idea of taking Falcon to Disney Plus, what was your reaction?
I was horrified. It's funny because when I went to LA, I bumped into I didn't know who, what, where, what was going on, and you know, all I know is I got called to LA to have a meeting. So I walk into the hotel, come in the lobby, and I bump into Sebastian. I'm like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" He's like, "You have a meeting? Yep. You have a meeting? Yep. Okay." So I had an idea of what was cooking, but I didn't think it was going to be a TV show. And, you know, I would say I was very afraid and very disappointed when I heard it was going to be a TV show, because I didn't think that we could take the scope of what we had just done in all these movies and then put it on TV and it would work. And I didn't want to be like the first failed entity of Marvel. Like, you have all this amazing stuff, and then this one thing sucks, and it just happens to be me. So, because I didn't know about the other shows. When I heard they were putting like us on TV, I was like, yo, you're literally sending me and Sebastian out to pasture like 2 old cows. You know, why are we like, we shouldn't, there's no way you can take the, even like
he's being way too modest about it. By the way, after being in 17 Oscar-nominated movies, I guess, like, you know, he's gonna have that. No way, man.
No, I was mortified, and I thought it took Kari and Malcolm
Kari
Spellman.
Skoglund and Malcolm Spellman.
Yeah, and once I heard the 2 of them were on, I was like, oh, well, you know, Kevin Feige promised me that he wasn't going to dumb down the culture of the Marvel franchise that they've created, because, you know, if it's just like, you know, it was going to be smaller. I thought it was going to be like, you know, Batman and Robin, the original one, where it was like pow, bing, you know.
I mean, that would be kind of fun to see in a Marvel context too. But you know, I think that it sounds like that once you got going, you both sort of got a sense of, oh no, this is still going to be at the scope of the movies.
Right. Yeah. And it was all the same people, you know, and everybody can attest to this. You know, when you do these, when you become a part of the Marvel franchise, it's almost like, you know, summer camp. So when you show up to set, it's everybody, and you never miss a beat. And, you know, everybody, some people have kids, some people bought a car, some people did this. So it's like, you know, you go back to seeing all your same friends over and over. And I think that speaks a lot to the culture that Lizzie was talking about. You're at work with your friends. So, of course, you're looking forward to going to work and having a good time, and, you know, bumping into Lizzie in the parking lot and tormenting her set and stuff like that, because it's fun. You know.
Tom, you know, I understand that for you even taught like a Loki 101 course to the creative leaders of your.
We were not invited.
We were not invited. Let us say, Sebastian and I were on the lot, and we were not invited.
There was a whisper about it.
Everybody was talking about it. Tom Hiddleston gave a 6-hour symposium about
Why were we
Loki,
not invited?
and we were not invited.
We were all on the lot.
Yeah, yes, we were all on the
All
lot.
three of us
And
were on the lot.
Sebastian and I, they made us work. They scheduled one of our biggest scenes so we could not sneak out and crash the Tom Hiddleston symposium.
Did you have a laser pointer or like a telescopic thing that you could point at?
He gave a 6-hour symposium about Loki. Go. Yes, Tom, we're listening.
There was a whiteboard. Well, let me go back. Let me go back to the beginning. So there was a kind of like, see, our show hasn't aired yet, so I have to be careful with what I say now. But so initially, when Kevin Feige and Louis D'Esposito called me about this, they were very excited, and it was around the spring of 2018, which was when Infinity War was being released into the world, and they said, Disney are going to create this streaming platform, and they have, we're very excited to present ideas to them, and Loki is one of them, in amongst WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier. I was like, okay. And then I was excited, but my first question was, how do we do that? Infinity War was just about to come out, and the opening 3 minutes of that film felt extremely final. And
you die. Loki dies.
Yeah. And I said, well, what? How do we do that? Because they were so kind and generous, but also sort of conclusive about the way that scene was written. I think even Josh Brolin as Thanos says, "No resurrections this time." And then cut to.
So Tom, when you said, how can we do this, did you know yet what was going to happen in Endgame, or did they even say to you, well, we have a plan, we just can't tell you yet? Did they give you any sense of like how they're going to do it?
Basically, there were moments where different people on the production team had lots of different questions about different things from different films. Different movies, and the 6 movies I made in the MCU, they were like, why does this costume change to this, and what happened here, and what was the thinking behind, why did this thing end up like that, and why do you use your knives like this in one film and your knives like this in another one? And because again, I have to be careful of spoilers. I know that you'll be respectful of the need with 2 weeks to go. So there were basically the show is about lots of things, but it's probably there's an element of it being it's about identity in the way that WandaVision maybe is about grief. And we were digging into lots of different aspects of Loki and this, the shapeshifter who is constantly changing shape. So what's his authentic shape? Does he have one? And there's so many. I was fielding lots of questions from the production team, and then
6 hours, Tom. 6 hours.
It came up in. It wasn't 6. It can't.
Symposium. 6 hours.
I'm 2 maybe.
Okay,
like
2 hours.
Like an hour with a Q&A.
Tom. Q&A. There was a Q&A.
Mackie.
Anyway, so
sorry,
I said to.
Sorry. Love you. Sorry, Liz.
I said to Kate Herron, our director, I said, would it be helpful if I gave everybody all the information at the same time? And Kate and Kevin Wright, our producer, was like, that's a brilliant idea. So it became, and I shamefully, it then became a kind of low-key lecture. Yes, I'm crushed with shame and embarrassment that this thing has even happened and is now out in the world. But if you guys want the kind of cliff notes on it, I can probably type them up. Send you a copy if you really want it.
I think it's born out of real fear that I'm not sure I could hold a 30-minute discussion
Right.
about that's actually what it's born out. It's like, oh my God, Tom Hiddleston is so prepared. I don't know what to do.
Paul, could you hold a 2-hour symposium about the ship of Ephesus, the ship of Theseus?
No, I couldn't. I just did what I always do, which is learn the lines, hope for the best.
Swing for the fence, baby.
And it's slightly intimidating because I was playing opposite my stunt guy, and he was kind of better than me, This happened to me once before when I had a stand-in, a camera stand-in. It was for lighting, and he would do things, and I go, Jesus, that's a good idea. And it was really, the whole thing was, I found myself robbing ideas of the
stand-in.
of the guy stand-in for lighting. Terrible. Anyway, but we digress. Hey, Adam, take it away.
Yes. So Tom brought up a very good point when he asked to be careful, conscious of spoilers, which is all of you have in various times in your careers within Marvel had to navigate people like me asking you questions that you actually can't answer. And so I want to know if you all have sort of go-to ways of avoiding answering direct questions that are sort of spoiler driven, because you all have to protect the storytelling that Marvel has worked so hard to maintain and keep everybody surprised. Like, for example, Tom, it sounds like you didn't even know that Loki was going to sort of be resurrected in Endgame until much later. Like, so do they keep things from you? How do you navigate all of that?
No, actually, I did. The biggest secret I kept for a long time was that scene in Infinity War. So I remember going in to meet Kevin and Lou before we started filming Ragnarok, and they were kind of talking me through. Before they sent the script, they were kind of talking me through the story, and Taika, I think, wasn't in town at that time, so I just talked it through with them, and at the end of that meeting, they were sort of describing what happens with Thor and what Chris was going to do, and the arrival of Hela, played by Kate Blanchett, and how Hulk and Ruffalo is going to be on this alien planet at the other end of the universe with Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master, and I thought, this is great, and then where it was going to end. And then at the end of that meeting, Joe and Anthony Russo came in, and they said, we're working on the next Avengers film, and the only completed scene we've locked is the opening. And then they told me what happened in it. And so I then carried that around, sort of knowing that was going to happen for, I guess, 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. You just kind of, I don't know how you guys feel, you just kind of change the subject and go, I can't tell you anything. You'll have to wait and see. I know some people feel they have to tell someone, otherwise they'll tell everyone. How do you guys feel about it?
I tell everyone in my personal life, and I tell no one in the press.
You trust the people in your personal life?
Yeah, I trust them with things that happen in my life that don't get out in the press. So yes, I trust them with Marvel news. God help you if you don't. Jeez.
This is really revealing about you. Yeah, we have people in our personal life that we trust. Yeah.
That's dope, man. That's dope.
I don't think Max does. He's shocked. I feel like Sebastian would be really good at answering this question.
What?
How do you avoid answering questions, Sebastian?
Absolutely not. I'm very worried about any trusting whatsoever. I before this variety call, I had a conversation with Anthony where I was like, I just want to know that you'll be on this call. I can't be alone. I have like I think I have an attachment issue now to him. Like I can't even like do this.
See,
You're like
this
the
is
little
why.
brother, and the big brother just like.
Why am I not the little brother? How do you say, Lizzie? I might be the little brother. How about that?
I think you're the big brother, and Sebastian likes to let his big brother talk so that he can just
Oh,
kind of
Lizzie, I'm
not
so
have to
happy
say
that you're
anything.
like
I'm not.
I
I'm
love
not
your
saying
analysis
anything
of our
else.
relationship.
I'm not like putting either of you down, by the way. Just,
Oh, there she is
I'm just
covering it up.
observing and just like saying how I see it.
Lizzie, I'm just
Can I
saying, if you
ask-
ever want to
can I
meet at
ask-
Aroma Cafe in the Valley, I'm in.
Aroma Cafe?
Is this where the therapy scene came from? In
Right.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just seeing it right in live. I'm seeing it live happening in front of me.
Oh, that's so bad.
Paul, I'm going to pivot to you for a second. Your character Vision has arguably evolved. Well, the part that you've played in the MCU has evolved. I don't even know if it's necessarily like really the same character entirely.
Yeah, he started off as a desktop.
Yeah, he started off as a voice.
He started off as a PC. This motherfucker, he started off as a Gateway 700.
And then you became Vision, and now a spoiler for the end of WandaVision, there's another version of Vision now that's out there in the MCU. God knows when we'll see that again. But could you talk about for you how that's been to have this your time in the MCU just continually perpetuate and sort of start over again, and every time you think it's over, then they tell you it's not. What that has been like for you?
Well, last time it was pretty great because my contract was up and I'd just been called twice, and then I got a call from Kevin Feige, and when the boss calls you and your contract's up, I went to my wife and went, I think it's over. So I went in there, and because I'm British, I was like, I don't want anybody to feel bad. So I just went in full on, like, it's been a great ride. I love you guys. No hard feelings, please. And he looked at me and went, are you quitting? And I went, you're not firing me? And they went, no, we're gonna put your TV show. So I was poised, unlike Anthony, I was poised to go, absolutely, absolutely. I can keep the kids in private school. It's gonna be great. But to answer your question more seriously, yeah, it's been a fun ride. I think I was concerned about how on WandaVision I keep him being the Vision, and I think at the core of the Vision, because he's all changed, right? He's Ultron, he's Tony Stark, he's Jarvis, and then I just threw a bit of some sort of 1950s comedy into it, and it seemed to hold on. If the center of Vision is decency, it can kind of absorb some other shit. So that's what I did.
Sebastian, when Bucky fell off of that train, in Captain America, the First Avenger, did you know that he was going to be coming back at that point? Did you know that then?
No, they were at first they were gonna have this like green sleeved arm, and I was like, oh, perfect. And then they were like, you know what? We don't know. So then they gave me the real arm back, and yeah, I don't know, not much after that.
So when did you find out that he was going to be coming back for Captain America: The Winter Soldier?
A friend of mine called me and said, hey, bro, I'm at the San Diego Comic-Con, and you're in the title of the next film. And I was like, oh, cool.
Seriously? They didn't.
Yeah. I don't know. We seem to find these things out like in weird ways, I guess. I don't know.
So did you've been playing this role now for off and on for 10 years, as has Tom. How has it changed your life?
Well, Tom, how's it changed your life? I mean, I'm just, you're just trying to kind of like still have some sort of a life, I guess, without someone commenting on it. It's like this. It's like if I move this piece of paper from left to right, someone's gonna have something to say about it, and I just think that's really funny.
Yeah, you just launched like 3 blog posts about what that means. And professionally speaking, how is it affected for all of you? How has being part of the MCU changed the trajectories of the kinds of projects you can do outside of the MCU, the amount of commitment that you have to make with your time within the MCU? How has that affected your lives professionally?
I'll answer this genuinely and not make a joke about it. I what it allows for all of us is that we all have a number sign above our heads when we make independent films, and whether or not we can sell them internationally to help get financing. Because we want to do that, it does allow us to be able to do that. So I think that's a great benefit to being a part of such a huge international franchise. Genuine.
Yeah.
Way to go, genuine.
I love these films, I have to say, and I have been in less of them than I think everybody else as on the Zoom, and I don't want to embarrass you, Paul, with sincerity, but I remember going to see the first Iron Man when I was, I can't remember, I was doing a TV job for the BBC, and I was working abroad and went to the local cinema, and I came back, I was like, that was amazing. That was an amazing movie. And everyone in it did amazing work. And the idea that I would ever get to be in anything like that felt so remote at that time for me. I didn't know how on earth I would be able to get, I thought, wow, this is great. And I was, Paul, I was thinking, maybe you do get mad love for Jarvis, but like Jarvis is great. And that's why you've evolved into the Vision, and that's why you're still here. It's been life-changing because these films mean so much to so many people, and that is a privilege.
I mean, yeah, I think the way that that everyone felt at the end of Endgame when those battles happened, and the response that was sort of heard in the theaters, it's the thing that I keep thinking about when I think about going back to theaters post-pandemic, is sort of recapturing that kind of experience again. And part of that is the fan interaction, the experience that you guys all have with the people who love Marvel so much. And I didn't know if any of you had any favorite interactions or memorable interactions you've had with Marvel fans that you might want to share.
Well, do you know what? I'll say a quick thing. I was doing a play in London when Endgame opened, and I think I was one of the only people who wasn't there at the big release in Los Angeles. And 2 very old friends picked me up from the stage door one night, and they booked some tickets to a midnight screening. And I went, I went dressed in like a scarf and sat in a cinema in London and watched it with the first crowd. And that's when I realized like what an extraordinary event these films are when they come out. Like I wasn't in an industry, it wasn't an audience full of people from our industry, it was an audience full of the real audience, and it was such a delight to be kind of in amongst it, and to feel the responses and to hear them. They're so vocal, so emotional. So yeah, that was a really fun experience to just be back in touch with the real thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think Tom's right in that you don't have to look at it through the sort of prism of what being in the Marvel franchise can do for you, but rather what you can do for the Marvel franchise. No, it just began to sound like that, but that's not what I meant. What I meant was WandaVision, for instance, was just on its own one of the most creative and fun experiences of my career. And so I don't even think about it in the context of everything else. It is what it is, and you're working with the greatest technicians in the world, you know, and like Anthony says, you're going to see all your friends again. It's been such a great time, and really, really creative and imaginative. So I love it.
I want to talk a little about the world building in the MCU. One of the things that's sort of great about the way that Marvel operates is that each sort of movie feels sort of unique unto itself as its own kind of thing, but it's also part of this larger cohesive storytelling universe. That was, as I think, appears especially true with these shows. Each of these shows are very different from the other. How these are things that we rarely get to sort of talk about because we're so focused on like that's the grand spectacle of it all, but like the props, the sets, the world building. Could you talk about, for you guys as actors, what it's like to step onto those and have that help your performance and help you sort of believe that you have these incredible powers or these incredible abilities, and sell that story? Lizzie, why don't you go first?
Oh, I was just thinking about how important my wigs are to me when you just told me this. I really, I think the wigs that I put on, whether it was for the 50s or the 70s or Scarlet Witch wig, you have like 14 wigs. It totally puts me in a funny mood, and I love it. And it's something that once I'm out of that chair, I'm like, I feel like I have my invisible cape on. like I'm gone. And I don't mean it in any kind of like a methody way. Just it really makes me feel like for the 50s, you just everything, you just want to walk different, you want to talk different. We all felt that way in the hair and makeup trailer all the time for doing our stupid vocal warm-ups to get our voices to have the right inflection for these time periods. And so yes, there's that part of the world building. And then with specifically with WandaVision, it was kind of incredible to watch our production design team create this nuclear home that shifted based on whatever reference we were giving an homage to. And whether it was the multicam set of the Dick Van Dyke Show or the Brady Bunch, we had a tree, we had a plant that grew every single episode. Like no one would know, but like we got so much joy knowing that plant was growing every decade. And then in the penultimate episode, it was like dead. It was like a dead tree. And I just love those details, and it really makes us feel like a piece of the fabric of the set. And oh God, not to mention our exteriors and like all the nights our entire crew were doing to paint the picket fences, paint the houses different colors, get different flowers out. I mean, it was really remarkable what Paul and I got to see our crew build. It was really inspiring, and everyone's working so hard, so you need to work that hard. You need to work harder, and everyone's just lifting each other up. It's really you're working with the greatest craftsmen and women, and it makes you be better.
Anthony, along the lines of what Lizzie was talking about, though, for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you were in a lot of different locations. You were supposed to be in, there was a brand new city or country within the MCU, Madripoor, that was introduced. But you obviously can't especially since part of your show was shot during the pandemic, you can't necessarily travel to all of these places. So how did you, what was it like for you to have this sort of international show and have that be part of what you were doing with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
It was when I first read the script, I thought it was going to be one of those amazing experiences where we were going to be traveling to 7 different countries and doing all this stuff. And, Sebastian was going to hurt his toe trying to be Tom Cruise. And, all this stuff was going to be amazing. And then they were like, Atlanta and Puerto Rico. And I was like, sweet. And then the earthquakes in Puerto Rico happened. Then they were like Atlanta and TBA. So it kind of, our show was interesting because it really gave a wide spectrum of what this world for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was going to be. What's the idea of everything and all these characters they were introducing into the universe, but at the same time, everything was kind of a chink in the armor. Everything that happened kind of was a punch in the gut. From us not being able to know our location, from the pandemic, from the earthquakes, there were so many things that were like set in our path that were speed bumps. So it was really a group effort with cast and crew to keep the morale up, and every location and every opportunity and rewrites and everything to really make the show work the way it did. I think the best thing that happened to us that we were taking out the first slot and put in the second slot, because I feel like WandaVision was so amazing because it really set the vocabulary for what Marvel was going to do in the streaming universe. And when you saw that show, how unique it was, how different it was, how beautiful it was, how the performances were so great, and how it still stood the test of the cinematic universe, it kind of made the audience fall in line to the new scope of what Marvel was going to be. So thank you, Paul and Lizzie. But it was all of these shows, every single time was a team effort. And, from the builders, from the riggers, from the lighters, from the, writers, every single show kind of worked its magic in its own way. We'll see about Loki.
We had the best crew of all time.
No, we had the best crew of all time.
Well, we had the crew that didn't sit through a symposium.
Oh no!
Well, the thing about that crew, I guess about 2/3 of Loki was made after the lockdown, and so if I had any chance to publicly salute those guys, because coming back, we did 6 weeks of Loki, and then pandemic hit, shut down. We came back 5 months later, 4.5 months later. As I think,
Tom, can I ask you a question about Loki?
Yeah.
Do you get to improvise? Do you like? Are you like? Do you get to be like? Do you get to go off at all or no? Or is it pretty scripted? Like how? Or did you find that in there?
Yeah, we found. I mean, it's like always. I feel like with every experience I've had with Marvel, it's a mixture of the two. No, there's something written. There's a script, and you start there, and then but it can spin off and change and depending on the day, depending on the scene, depending on the complexity of the setups and the shots, and you're like, well, we've kind of planned for this wire gag, and there's a mat for you, but if you do something else, we don't know if you're going to hit them. Can you hit the mat? Because we need you to do that, and otherwise everyone's in trouble. But there was definitely room to play and to be inventive. I mean,
it sounds the same as like when we were on set, and I had to remind Anthony that Daniel Bruhl was in the scene. I was like, Anthony, Daniel's in the scene too, right? Like, oh, sorry, but like, yeah. I guess there's a collaboration aspect to this whole thing, as you go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you know, we Owen Wilson, who sadly isn't on our
Yes.
is so inventive and so imaginative and so spontaneous. He would always bring new things and, you know, new things to the table. And so yeah, but then I feel like it's always, my experience inside working with Marvel Studios has been like that. There's always been an encouragement to, and that comes from Kevin Feige, wouldn't you agree? Like Kevin works from a place where if someone has a good idea, let's try it.
Yeah.
And that's the way the studio works is if someone has a good idea, it doesn't matter where whoever has it. There's no hierarchy of good ideas. If you have a good idea, then pitch it, and maybe it'll be in the thing. And that's what I love about the studio is they're so fleet-footed and so dexterous like that. They can go, oh, that's interesting. Let's try this.
How many times during your shoot did you talk to Kevin Feige, Tom?
A couple of times. I mean, because of the pandemic, he was in touch about the shutdown, and so about 6.
He's only asking because Anthony was calling him every Friday night.
I'll text him every other day.
Okay, maybe once every 2 weeks. It wasn't
I'll
every
text
other day.
Kevin every other day.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did.
Paul, is that true?
I was booking this trip to Greece and I had to know how much I could spend, you know.
But that would be amazing if you ask him that, like, Kevin, I'm just on the corner of 6th and 8th, and I'm wondering.
I wish we could continue talking, but that's all of the time we have. And this was a truly wonderful, delightful, marvelous conversation. I'm sorry, I regret even saying that. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. And all of your shows are available on Disney+. Please check them out. To our attendees, thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for our next session. Thank you so much.